This is Tech24 and I'm Rebecca Bowring. Coming up in the programme, Time Magazine's Person of the Year is the protester. We take a look back over the internet's role in bringing change as web users in China and Russia rise up. Remember Blinky, Inky, Pinky and Clyde? We go on a virtual trip down memory lane, tracing the history of video games from Pac-Man to Pokemon and beyond. It's been an extraordinary year. Libya, Syria, Tunisia, Morocco, Yemen, Bahrain, all countries caught up in the Arab Spring. We've had Los Indignados, Occupy Wall Street, austerity hit Greeks. Throughout 2011, the people have poured out onto the streets and onto social networks to call for change. Time Magazine has selected the protester as its Person of the Year. Eric Olander, France24.com's editor-in-chief, is here. You've, of course, followed many of these movements, Eric, and we're seeing web activist strategies evolve as we go into 2012.
It's been an unbelievable year, and there's been a couple highlights of this year where I do think that Time Magazine got it absolutely right. Now, part of what happened with this year was the fact that people rushed out onto the street for lots of complex reasons. It was not right to call these the social media revolutions, the Facebook revolutions, the Twitter revolutions, whatever you want to call them. These were revolutions by all definition, by any definition. What they did, though, was they used tools to organize. If these tools weren't available, they would have found something else. But it is impossible to understand these revolutions and these uprisings, the small and large, without understanding the social media component and the technology component to it. Because remember, it wasn't just the Facebook and the Twitters, it was also the cell phone.
So we have to say that they have played a crucial role. Now, we've often discussed the double-edged sword effect of this, haven't we? The way that governments can also tap into that technology to censor or to twist the truth, give their own version of reality. And we've seen the Chinese authorities at it during this past week with a siege in the village of Wuhan. Now, if you search on many Chinese websites, it's like that never happened.
Well, yes and no. The Chinese, it's not quite so black and white as we saw in Egypt earlier this year where they shut off the networks. Let's take a look now at Weibo. Weibo is the largest microblogging network in the world, much larger than even Twitter right now. And I searched the word Wuhan in Chinese, and here, of course, you see pictures, in fact, of the demonstrations, and you see the word Wuhan being mentioned in the political context.
So are they being wiped out as quickly as they're mushrooming?
Some are and some are not. Again, It's not this red line censorship that you often see, and it varies from network to network. Let's take a look at another network. This one's called Tudo. Now, Tudo is one of the large video sharing networks. Here, when you search for the word Wuhan, all you see is the government propaganda. All you see is, videos that are unrelated to the protests. You don't see that same kind of dynamism that you're seeing over on Weibo. So Weibo
Why are some things allowed to pass then?
Well, what the Chinese do is they use a very sophisticated kind of measurement tool that they do. They kind of turn a valve. These are pressure valves that the Chinese use to unleash some of the political pressure that's mounting. As soon as the pressure gets too high, they shut it down. Images, in their mind, are far more powerful than words. Now, Weibo has been censored by a lot of government layers and a lot of government people for a lot of different things. So Weibo is by no means an open network. But in this particular case, with respect to Wuhan, there is some Wuhan mentions being allowed on Weibo.
Now, talking about political pressure, if we turn the focus now to Russia, it seems like online is becoming the new front line in political transparency there.
It is, and what we're seeing in Russia is absolutely tremendous. I mean, to see thousands of people out on the streets protesting, again, organizing, using social media networks. Some of the iconic images that come out of the Russian demonstrations were young people holding up iPads, and they were streaming live using things like BAMuser and other sites to distribute to a global audience. This is a game changer in terms of how people approach protest. And one of the challenges for Putin, the same challenge for Ben Ali, the same challenge for Mubarak, and even in the United States, is how do government officials and police and authorities respond to this?
Well, the Kremlin responded on Facebook for the first time ever.
Well, in part they responded on Facebook, but they also took some more nefarious means as well.
They did.
They did wipe out or did launch an attack. And again, we don't know if this came from the Kremlin. It came from, quote, pro-Kremlin sources. They did try to wipe out some of the election monitoring organizations, their sites online. So the Kremlin's mounting, again, let me rephrase that, pro-Kremlin forces are mounting a counterattack using social networks and in the cyberspace as well. So it's not clear where this is happening. What is clear, though, is that older established political authorities, whether it's David Cameron in London when he responded to the the riots this summer, they're struggling to understand this new world that we're in right now. And that's one of the commonalities.
Thank you very much for that, Eric. Stay with us. A special Test24 on the way next. Paris's The Grand Palais is more traditionally linked with Picasso than it is with Pac-Man. But we're not here today to see any works by grandmasters. We're here to visit a temporary exhibition taking place in the refurbished southeastern wing. It's devoted to the culture of video gaming. I'm off now to meet Mark Edwards, Tech24's video games reviewer. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Bex.
So this is where video gaming all began.
This is it, the very, very first arcade game, Pong, designed in 1972, and this was by the precursor to the Atari. And, you know, it might not seem much to us now, but back in the day, this really would have been state of the art, yeah.
Dream Chaser. Here we are in the heart of the exhibition. What's it trying to tell us, Mark?
Well, it's the history of the video game, and we've gone out over 4 decades with 80 original titles played on the original consoles. We've made our way from the 70s into the 80s. We've got colour, the advent of colour. Classic games such as Pac-Man, Space Invaders, real gems that have made their way through history, and they're still very enjoyable to this day.
And the idea is that we get involved, so let's go play.
Okay.
Oops. Near the player now, but I can't be near the player because it doesn't work. So here we are in the 1990s with The Legend of Zelda, and this was a period, Mark, in which fantasy started to seep into video games.
Very much so. On the Nintendo side, we had really aesthetically pleasing games such as Zelda, and then on the Sega side, we had games such as Golden Axe or Altered Beast.
You can really see the graphics have developed tenfold, but this was really an era of a great rivalry indeed between Sega and Nintendo.
It really was. Super Nintendos were selling really highly. They sold almost 50 million consoles, and then on the other side, you had Sega, which came out first with the Mega Drive, wasn't selling highly until they brought out the iconic Sonic the Hedgehog, which I'm sure you remember. Which side were you?
I was definitely a Mega Drive girl, me. You?
More of the SNES, more of the SNES.
Don't you wanna be with me? Come with me.
It's brilliant to see the complete evolution of video gaming, which I followed. I wasn't born when it started, mind. And I've got my grandmother here having a go.
I've just about kept up. I can't say that I got it straight away, though.
So, Mark, I'm supposed to try and capture these balls. This is a whole new level of interactivity at the end of the exhibition, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've gone from 2D to 3D to being outside of the game to finally being brought right into the game. You are the remote. You are the console. You are the joystick right now.
I'm not very good at this, Mark. I know that you are extremely good at gaming, but there is one thing I might be able to beat you at, and that is a dance-off.
A dance-off. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Game Story runs until the 9th of January at the Grand Palais here in Paris. Thank you for watching this edition of Tech24. We'll leave you with a retrospective, Google's Zeitgeist review of 2011 told through the lens of online searches. See you again next week.